If you like our video, click the button to subscribe to our channel and get easy access to new content. To see our full suite of ad-free video courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides, visit us at www.teachucomp.com. There are many layer types in Photoshop you can create. An image layer, often simply called a layer, is a basic type of raster layer. To create a new blank layer in Photoshop, select the layer above which to add a layer in the Layers panel. Then click the Create a New Layer button at the bottom of the Layers panel. The new layer is then added above the current layer in the Layers panel. If you open a photographic file, like a JPEG in Photoshop, the image content appears within a layer of this type, called the background layer, which has its own unique layer properties. Fill layers and adjustment layers in Photoshop are layers that apply fills or adjustments to the content of underlying layers. When you create a fill layer or adjustment layer in Photoshop, the fill or adjustment content appears as a thumbnail at the left side of the layer in the Layers panel. Its linked layer mask appears to the right of that after the link icon. The layer mask determines where the adjustment or fill is applied. To create a fill layer or adjustment layer in Photoshop, click the Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer button at the bottom of the Layers panel. Then choose the Fill or Adjustment to apply from the menu that appears. Then set the Fill or Adjustment properties in the dialog box or Properties panel that then opens. Separately, to add a layer mask to a selected layer in Photoshop, click the Add Layer Mask button at the bottom of the Layers panel. If you select a blank layer in Photoshop and then create a fill layer, which are the solid color, gradient, and pattern choices in the menu, then the fill effect is applied to the selected layer and a layer mask is also applied to that layer. Otherwise, Photoshop creates a new fill effect layer above the selected layer. In contrast to this, Photoshop always creates adjustment layers, which are all the other choices in this menu, as new layers above the layer selected in the Layers panel. Shape layers in Photoshop are layers where you have created a vector-based shape. To create a shape layer in Photoshop, select any of the shape tools, which we will discuss later in the Tools panel. Then either select a blank layer in the Layers panel to convert into a shape layer, or select a layer with content above which to add a new shape layer in the Layers panel. Then click and drag within the selected layer to draw a shape. If you have a blank image layer selected, the layer is converted into a shape layer and the shape is added to it. If not, a new shape layer is instead created above the selected layer and the shape is added to it. Type layers in Photoshop are layers in which you created vector-based text. To create a type layer in Photoshop, select either the horizontal type tool or vertical type tool as needed in the Tools panel. Then either select a blank layer in the Layers panel to convert into a type layer, or select a layer with content above which to add the type layer in the Layers panel. Then either click or click and drag in the selected layer to add point text or paragraph text respectively. Then type your text, and click the Commit button in the Options Bar control panel to finish. If you selected a blank image layer, the layer is then converted into a type layer and the type is added to it. If not, a new type layer is instead created above the selected layer and the type is added to it. Smart object layers in Photoshop are layers to which you add external file content as a linked or embedded vector object. Smart objects let you perform vector-based edits to the file content, like transforms, without changing the raster content of the embedded object. However, you cannot perform editing with your pixel-based editing tools directly on a smart object layer without first rasterizing it. Alternatively, you can edit the content of a smart object in a separate window by right-clicking the smart object layer's name in the Layers panel and then selecting the Edit Contents command in the pop-up contextual menu if needed. You create smart object layers in Photoshop if you add content to a selected layer in the Layers panel using either the File, Place Linked, or File, Place Embedded commands in Photoshop. Alternatively, to convert a selected layer or layers in the Layers panel to a smart object layer, right-click a selected layer's name in the Layers panel. Then select the Convert to Smart Object command in the pop-up menu. Note that adding an adjustment layer to a multi-layer smart object layer removes the adjustment from being applied to underlying layers in the Layers panel, but continues applying it to other underlying layers in the same smart object layer. To convert a smart object layer back into its component layers if needed, right-click the smart object layer's name in the Layers panel. Then select the Convert to Layers command in the pop-up contextual menu. Alternatively, to rasterize a smart object layer, which converts it into an image layer, right-click the smart object layer's name in the Layers panel. Then select the Rasterize Layer command in the pop-up contextual menu. Remember to click the subscribe button to see more of our videos. See our full suite of courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides at www.teachucomp.com.